Feel free to use the TheraBand as much or as little as you want, and you can adjust the resistance by bringing the hand, making the distance between rib and hand closer. Let's bend the elbows in to start. So elbows are on the mat, and feeling for the back of the ribs, back of the upper spine, and the shoulder blades to be heavy into the mat. Pelvis is heavy too. As we straighten our elbows up, we're going to see if we can keep that heaviness through this upper back. And then we're going to bend the elbows in. Let's extend the arms up. When we get up here, keep the elbows straight. Widen the shoulder blades on the back. Feel the shoulder blades lift away from the mat. And then as we plug the arms back into the shoulders or into the torso, feel the shoulder blades sink heavy onto the mat. Let's bend the elbows. We're going to keep that connection. That shoulder blade connection is heavy. As we straighten the arms, keep them there. Building on here, we're going to open the arms out to a T shape. Arms are a little bit lower than shoulder socket. And then we'll float the arms up. You might feel a little bit of burning sensation through the front of the arm. If you feel that, I want you to know it's completely normal. We'll bend the elbows in. I feel it too. There's a lot of nerves through there that are starting to get a little bit of glide and movement. There's connective tissue moving there. So what you can do is move within a range that feels bearable to you. You can reduce the resistance by getting rid of the TheraBand, or you can softly bend the elbows as well to relieve some of that pull. Upper back nice and heavy. We'll bend the elbows in. We'll extend the arms up. Keep the upper back heavy on the mat. And we'll open the arms out to a T. And then we'll float the arms back up, keeping the arms the whole time, keeping them connected into the torso. Let's bend the elbows. We're going to leave the TheraBand behind the body, but just give the arms a break for a second. We're going to float the right leg up to tabletop, let the shin be heavy, and just give yourself a little knee squeeze here. I'm keeping my sacrum heavy on the mat, so I'm not rounding or pushing my low back into the mat here. So that way I'm getting a little bit of, or I'm focusing the movement rather in my hip joint. And then I'm just going to circle my ankle. You can't see it. I'm just going to move my leg so you can see here. Breathing, reversing directions with that ankle. And then we'll bring that right leg down. Let's float the left leg up. You can hold behind the thigh or on top of the shin, whatever feels good for you. Sacrum is heavy, and we're getting this movement in the hip joint. Collarbones are wide and shoulder blades still anchored into the mat. And let's start to circle the ankle, breathing as we go. And then we'll reverse directions with those ankle circles. We'll bring this leg down. So we're going to go back to our TheraBand here. And the reason I've introduced the TheraBand behind the back tonight is that in this position, it's going to help us to connect with the tissue of the front body and help us with core strengthening. And we're going to use the feedback of our shoulder blades and ribs heavy on the mat. And the resistance, so how can I say this? The resistance of the TheraBand is going to give us more feedback, so we're more aware of that. That's what I want to say. So we're going to hold the TheraBand and let's extend the arms up. We'll keep the upper back connected to the mat. And we're going to go into our single knee folds. If at any time you want to put the TheraBand down, you're welcome to do that. You can either do TheraBand down and you can squeeze your hand or like press your hands in together, or you can bring your hands down to the mat, whatever's working for you. So again, upper back and shoulder blades heavy onto the mat, and then we'll float the right leg up to tabletop. Thigh bone glides back and down into the hip socket, and then we'll lower it down. I'm thinking about my elbows being straight, but my shoulder blades staying connected to the mat. Left leg floats, thigh bone glides back and down. Foot comes down. Let's add our breath. We'll exhale as the right leg floats up and inhale as we come down. Left leg floats up and inhale down. And just in case any of you are finding this uncomfortable, this is the other option. Hands are above the chest and I'm just pressing my hands together, but I'm also feeling for my shoulder blades sinking into the mat so that I've got this nice wide chest situation happening. Collarbones nice and wide. Keep breathing. Third option, hands are down at the side. And you can even actually in this position, if you want, sink the arms and feel a little bit of pressure into the floor, and that'll connect you with your back if you do that, or you'll light up the tissues of your back. Let's finish up this set. We'll do one more on the opposite side. Okay, we'll take the TheraBand out from under the ribs and we'll place it to the side. Arms are in at our sides. Let's inhale and glide our shoulders up to our ears. And we'll exhale, glide the shoulder blades down the back, shoulders lengthen away from ears. Reach through your pinky fingers, connecting to the lats or that big back muscle. And we're floating the arms up and overhead. Pausing at the top, palms are facing up. You're welcome to use a bolster or pillow under the arms here. And noticing that the ribs and the upper back and the shoulder blades can be heavy and connected to the mat here. Inhale, ribs expand. And exhale, front ribs melt to the back ribs. Notice if you can allow the shoulders to soften a little bit more and allow the fingers to soften while keeping the ribs connected. If that is a big challenge for you, propping with something under the arms will help with that. And the more comfortable you can get, the more the shoulders are going to allow the muscles there to release and the more lengthening you're going to get, which is the goal here. Let's take one more breath. Inhale and exhale. Release. Let's reach that right arm past the left fingers. Inhale here. Exhale, let the ribs soften. And then we'll bring that arm back to start. Let's inhale, reach the left arm higher. Exhale, front ribs melt to back. Arm comes in. Right arm reaches. And remember, if you want, you can glide the tailbone on the diagonal so that left hip and rib are closer together as that right arm reaches. Exhale, allow the ribs to soften, shoulder softens, and then come back through center. Inhale, left hand reaches, right rib and hip get closer together. Exhale, ribs soften, allow the shoulders to soften. And we'll come back through center. One more breath here. Let the shoulders soften, ribs are heavy, fingers soft. Exhale. And we'll open the arms like we're making a snow angel and bring them down to our sides. Nice release there for the shoulders and for the upper back. Back of the head is nice and heavy. Jaw and tongue are soft. And we'll nod the chin towards the throat. And then we'll lift the chin up towards the ceiling. Imagining that we have warm olive oil poured at the base of the skull and the top of the spine. Allowing for this nice, gentle nod. Shoulders melting. And then we'll pause and start to draw circles about the size of a quarter with our nose. Breathing as you circle. Noticing what kind of shape you're making. We'll pause, reverse directions with the nose. Noticing any differences between this side and the first side. One more circle. And coming through center, moving into our head press. We'll imagine we're laying in warm wax, and we'll sink the back of the skull into the warm wax to make a greater indent. And then we'll release. Let's think about our ribs being heavy, and as we sink the back of the skull, now invite the ribs to sink too. Notice what that feels like. And release. And if it feels a little bit like a tug of war in your body, that's completely normal. Press the head. Invite the ribs to soften. I find if I can just relax my body into the tug of war, I can kind of find that rib heavy head pressing. And release. And if you can't, that's okay too. Letting the shoulders and shoulder blades sink, creating a deeper imprint into the mat. Maybe even pressing the arms tonight and feeling what that feels like. And release. Shoulders and shoulder blades press, ribs stay heavy, maybe pressing the arms into the floor. Exhale. Inhale, release. Shoulders and shoulder blades press, maybe the arms press. Exhale. Invite the ribs to be heavy. And inhale, release. Let's combine head presses, head sinks, shoulders and shoulder blades and arms. And then invite the ribs to sink. Exhale here. And inhale, release. Head presses. Shoulders and shoulder blades press, maybe arms press down. Have another exhale, invite the ribs to soften. And inhale, everything releases. Exhale, head presses. Shoulders and shoulder blades press, arms press. Hold that press as you inhale into the ribs. Exhale, now feel the ribs sinking. Inhale, everything releases. Now imagining we have that golden thread from the breastbone lifting up to the sky. As we exhale, feel the head press. Shoulders, shoulder blades, and arms press. Pausing here for an inhale. Exhale, feel the ribs soften. And on the next inhale, breastbone lifts. Feel the low back staying connected with the towel. Internal sensation more than physical movement maybe. And then we'll exhale, let that all release. Inhale, ribs expand. Exhale, head presses. Shoulders and shoulder blades press, arms sink. Hold that sinking as we inhale. Exhale, invite the ribs to soften. Inhale, someone pulls on that golden thread, lifting the breastbone up to the sky. Feel the low back stay connected with your towel. And everything releases. Let's try one more. Inhale, feel the ribs expand through the side and back body. Exhale, back of the head sinks into the warm wax. Shoulder blades and shoulders and arms sink into the warm wax. Hold that sinking, that downward pressure. Inhale here, feel the ribs expand. Exhale, invite the ribs to soften. Front ribs melt to back. Inhale, someone pulls on that golden thread attached to the breastbone. Breastbone floats to the sky, upper spine floats towards breastbone. Low back is connected to the mat. And then exhale, let everything release. Let's take one more inhale here. And as we inhale, feel the front body soften into the back body and feel the back body expand with air. And we'll exhale, let that release. Nodding the chin or rocking the head from side to side, just releasing any tension that may be gathered while we did that. I don't know about you, but I was having a real moment there of being right into that movement, and that just felt so delicious for my back body. I hope it felt delicious for you too. Let's roll onto our sides, and we're going to come, if it feels okay for you, right up onto our forearm. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, I'm going to just take this towel out. You can lay all the way on your side and do this here. Maybe I'll show it here before I go onto the side. Heels are aligned with sits bones. And we're just going to inhale. As we inhale, lifting this rib ever so slightly towards the sky. You'll feel the bottom waist lifting. And then we'll exhale and let that release. I'm going to hold my arm overhead so you can just see what's happening here. Inhale, rib lifts. And exhale, releasing. And if you want a little bit more challenge, we can come onto the forearm, elbows under the shoulder, and we're going to feel the rib here sinking, shoulder comes to ear. And then we're going to push the floor away. We'll feel the shoulder move away from the ear. And then we'll inhale, lift the rib here. And exhale, release. Let's do one more here. Press the floor away. Inhale, feel the rib lift. And exhale, release. Laying back down on your side. And if you have your TheraBand nearby, well, you can wrap it around your shin. If you can reach that leg with your hand, then you don't need your TheraBand. So just adjust to your body. Tucking the pelvis a little bit. Same sensation at like we're splashing water on belly button. And then we're just going to press this foot a little bit into this hand. Breathing. And then we'll let that tension release and we'll just glide the thigh bone forward in space. I'm sinking my bottom leg into the mat for a little bit of support. And I'm also thinking about my waist lifting ever so slightly, just so that as I'm moving my thigh bone, I'm not rocking from side to side. Thigh bone comes forward. Thigh bone back, thinking of tucking the pelvis. Thigh bone is parallel to the floor. We'll press that foot into the hand. Take a breath here. We'll exhale, release. Press this bottom leg down into the mat. Feel the waist lifted and just glide the thigh bone forward and glide the thigh bone back. Let's let that release. I'm going to push up like I'm getting out of bed. Also should have mentioned, you're welcome to place a towel between your head and shoulder there for comfort. So let's start. I'll do this the exact way I did it on the other side. So we'll start, heels are aligned with sits bones, laying on our side. I'm going to you can have your hand in front. I'm just going to move my hand overhead so you can see my ribs. I'm going to inhale here and lift my ribs up towards the sky. This waist is lifting, like almost like if there was a little mouse that wanted to crawl under me. I'm making a little space for that mouse to crawl, and then I'm going to exhale and release. I'm going to inhale, make a rainbow shape with my ribs, and I'm going to exhale, release. If you want a little bit more challenge, you can come up onto the forearm and just feel the ribs sink and the shoulder comes up towards the ear, and then push the floor away with the forearm from fingertips to elbows under the armpit. And then inhale, lifting the ribs up, and exhale, coming down. Let's do one more here. Push the floor away. Feel this space between shoulder and ear. Inhale, lift the ribs. And exhale, release. Laying down on the side, on your side, if you want a towel between head and shoulder, here's where you can place it. And using your hand to hold on to the leg. If your hand doesn't quite reach, you're going to use your TheraBand and you'll hold onto the TheraBand. Thigh is parallel to the floor. Tucking your pelvis, splashing water on belly button, and then a little pressure from that foot into the hand. Take a breath here. Inhale. Feel the ribs expand, and as you exhale, release. Press this bottom leg ever so slightly into the floor, lifting the waist so I could slide an envelope underneath, and then I'm just going to glide my thigh bone forward. Doesn't matter how far forward it comes. So it can be a little micro movement or a bigger movement, whatever's feeling good for your body today. We'll come forward again. Trying to keep the pelvis fairly quiet. This leg and this leg press and waist lift is going to help with that. Let's do one more. We'll tuck the pelvis. Press the foot into the TheraBand or hand. We'll let that release. Bottom leg presses into the floor. Waist lifts so ever so slightly, and we'll glide the thigh bone forward. Notice as you're doing this that the thigh bone is gliding in the hip socket. Same as when we're on our backs doing our knee folds. Let's do one more. And back. Good. We'll let that release. Pushing up to a seated position, and then we're going to find our tummy. We're going to lie on our tummy. Feel free, if you'd like a towel underneath your hip bones here, to take that and place it under the hip bones. You're also more than welcome to place it under the forehead for a little bit of support here. I'm going to place my forehead on a towel, and I'm going to place my hands under my hip bones. So my hip bones are sinking into my palms. And I'm just going to feel, with about 10% of my effort, my hip bones sink into my palms. And then I'm going to take an inhale here, filling the back body with air, but keeping that 10% effort down into my hands. And then I'm going to exhale. And I'm going to inhale, filling the back body with air. I'm going to exhale. Let's do one more breath here. Inhale into the back ribs. And exhale, release. Release that pressure from the pelvis and just rock side to side. So maybe you started to feel your seat or your backs of your thighs really starting to, or beginning to fatigue. Just doing a little bit of endurance there. Let's feel the hip bones sinking into the palms with 10% of our effort. Let's tuck our toes underneath. And then we'll point the right ankle, straighten that knee. And as we hover that leg, notice that we keep this equal weight between of hips into palms. And we'll lower back down. Inhale here. Exhale, sinking hips into palms, pointing the left ankle, straightening that knee, hovering. See if we can find that equal pressure between the two sides of the pelvis. And lowering down. On your inhale, filling the back space of the ribs with air. Exhale, pointing right ankle, lengthening and hovering. Inhale, leg comes down. Exhale, pointing the left ankle, leg straightens, hovering. Let's do one more in each direction. So we're using this pelvic press to open up through the low back and keep this nice length. So you shouldn't feel any pinching through the low back. If you're starting to feel pinching, I want you to try keeping the leg a little bit lower. And if that's still not working, you can stick with the pelvic press and breathing. Let's move to the upper body. Palms still under the hip bones. We'll inhale to prepare. And as we exhale, we'll hover the upper body. Doesn't matter how high you come. Collarbones can move backwards in space. Let's inhale, grow longer. And exhale, lowering down. Inhale, feel the back ribs expand with air. Exhale, pelvis presses with 10% of effort. Upper body floats. Collarbones move backwards in space. Inhale, grow longer. Right, length right from the toes out the top of the head. And we'll exhale, coming back down. Inhale here, back body expands. Exhale, sinking the pelvis. Upper body floats. Inhale, collarbones move backwards in space. Inhale, grow longer. And exhale down. One more time. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, pelvis presses. Upper body floats. Collarbones move backwards in space. Inhale, grow nice and long. And exhale down. Let's take our hands out. So you can, here's where you can place a towel under the hip bones if you like that feedback. Otherwise, we're going to have the hands in our goalpost position, and we'll press into the hands and energize down towards the toes and go into our flight. So pelvis presses. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, pressing into the hands, energizing to the toes, floating the upper body. Pelvis staying heavy. Inhale, collarbones move backwards in space. Grow nice and long, and then we'll exhale, grow longer. Can you grow even longer as you lower down? And everything releases. Inhale here. Exhale, pelvis presses. Energize with the hands, floating the upper body off of the mat. Inhale, collarbones move backwards in space. Keep pulling with the hands. And we're going to grow nice and long. Stay long, growing longer as we lower down. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, pressing with the hands, energizing towards the toes, floating up. Pelvis is pressing. Inhale, collarbones move backwards in space. Keep pulling with the arms. Grow long from head to toe. Grow even longer as we lower down. Keep pulling with the hands. Keep collarbones wide. And all the way down. Let's let the arms release, and we'll just rock the pelvis from side to side.